Spain. She hates Mark Spain team or whomever. She went directly to Foosbo a week later at 318. So she went from 330 to 318, and that's where she is today. I did the research, and there was a good comp at 305 that closed on June 20th, and it closed. It doesn't have a brick front, doesn't have. She has a partially finished basement, so not nearly as nice. So, and lesser square footage. So, I think actually where she is at 320 is not unreasonable. So, I think she'd make the phone ring.
You don't think it's unreasonable?
I don't think it's totally unreasonable, but she would be the high for the neighborhood.
So, if you had your choice, what would you take the listing at?
300. But because the market seems to be coming back, I thought maybe, and having given Keller Williams marketing, maybe 320 we could try for 2 weeks, and if not, have her agree in advance to come back down to 300.
Yeah, but if that's the case, she ends up selling it for 308 or something. And if she just puts it on the market for 300 and gets multiple offers, she sells it for 308, right?
Right. No,
okay, let's pause on that for 1 second. What about the net sheet? Have you worked a net sheet with her?
No, I've got in her file. She told me what her net was. I think it was. I mean, not her net. Her mortgage was about 100 left.
Okay, so if she's worried about equity, then you need to help her run the numbers so she can really confirm that that's a problem or not, right?
Right. Okay. So she wants to buy a $150,000 to $200,000 house. So there's in North Forsyth area, and
she wants to buy how much?
150 to 180 to 200 maybe, depending on what she could sell this house for, which are nearly impossible to find. You can find some 175s and 200s, but so at 300 she could just scrape by. But if we sold for 300, she'd be down to 270.
Yeah, but there's so many things we don't get. Is she going to get a mortgage?
She wants no mortgage.
Okay, so she's going to sell her home for, let's just say 300. She's going to pay off a mortgage balance of 100, right?
Right.
And then she's going to pay commissions and closing costs or whatever she has to do. And whatever's left is what she's going to use to buy a home.
Correct. And she wants to be mortgage free.
Well, what?
She's single. Her last kid's moving out, just graduated high school. So he's moving out this summer. So that's why she was hanging in that school district in West Forsyth.
Okay.
So it's a money thing, I think. I think behind it all, she needs to go mortgage free. She's probably tight right now, I would guess.
Yeah, but I mean, is she? Could she get a $50,000 mortgage and be comfortable with a $300 payment, if that, and then move on with her life?
I haven't suggested that. I did suggest that. She said, no, I don't want a mortgage. But I haven't suggested one that small. Let her know that she could get one that small. That may be an interest to her. I mean,
honestly, money is so cheap right now. I can't imagine why somebody would sink all this cash into a home, even if they have the cash.
She's about 55, so she has plenty of time to pay it off.
Okay.
She's that low.
Well, here's the thing. She needs to understand that saving money on commissions is not necessarily going to save her money as a net, right? And for example, if her mortgage is 95 instead of 100, or if it's 110 instead of 100, that's going to change everything, right?
Right.
So we need to work some true figures. Okay.
That's a good approach. I don't think I have the true figures. I think she used the term about.
Right, and then we should do some searching, because let's say, for example, you go and show her a 175 home, and she doesn't like it, and you say, look, I'm typing in everything in the area you desire for 175, and there's 2 homes, and you now telling me you don't want either one of them. So that's telling me that we have a buying issue, not a selling issue. So I have a couple of questions for you. what's more important, living in North Forsyth or staying in the 170, 180 neighborhood? That's going to be the kicker right there. If she says, I need to be in North Forsyth for that price, well, you have to say to her, well, here are the only homes available. So like, is this even a plan that's worthwhile, right? And then she says, well, I need to be in North Forsyth. You say, well, here's a home for 220. Do you like this one? Or 200, do you like this one? And then when she says, yeah, that now we're talking, that now it makes sense. They will, okay, so we're going to need to discuss with a lender how to, maybe take a small mortgage that you could pay off quickly if you need to, but that will get you into the home that makes the most sense for you.
Exactly.
She could also say, actually, it doesn't have to be Cumming. It could be Canton or something. And then you go and look at Canton for 180, and then you show her what that buys her, and she says, okay, now I'm comfortable. So we need to resolve the buying problem before we attack the selling problem. See what I'm saying?
Yep. She was
And the
very
way to attack
receptive
this,
yesterday, so hopefully she makes a decision to list today, no matter what.
right.
So I've got the problem with that comp that sold on June 20th for 305. They paid $5,000 for closing costs, but nevertheless, so at least it netted 300,000. Her house is way better. That was about 1,800 square feet versus hers is about high 22s. So, and with a partially finished basement and a 0.87 lot that's very pretty wooded, just as nice as it can be.
So maybe 320 is okay.
I think so. I think I would gamble. At first I was against it, but now I'm sort of leaning that might be the way to go. And that picked her interest yesterday.
That way too.
Good.
But it's really ultimately up to her. The way that she's going to soften up to you is by you walking her through that seller phase, or I'm sorry, that buyer phase and that seller phase. And you say, look, if you can't buy something the way you want to buy it, where you want to buy it, then there's no point in moving. Okay. So first we have to prove to ourselves that there is a series of viable options for us on the purchase side. And if you can't find anything for 170, 180, anywhere close to where you'd want to live, well, then we have to make one of two choices or one of three choices. It's either number one, you stay where you're at. Number two is you get a smaller mortgage and beef up your budget. Or number three is you agree to purchase a home that you're not thrilled about because you'd rather have that than what you currently own, right? And you try to lay out those scenarios for her. And when she says, okay, that seems to make sense, let's do some searching in the 170, 180 neighborhood. Then maybe you sell the home for more than 300 and she's got some more to work with. But you say, look, I want to make sure that you have as close to as possible of a estimate of the number of dollars that you would leave this transaction with, right? So tell me exactly what your loan payoff is. Because, every nickel you can come up with, if she says, oh, it's like 94 or something like that, great, we just made $6,000. Right. So, and then you walk her through it, say, look, there's a good chance 2/3 of the time, almost 70% of the time, that a seller sells now in this price range, they're going to pay some closing costs. Average closing costs are around $5,000. I'm not saying you have to pay it. I'm just saying don't be surprised if they ask for it, right? But once we get a better feel for how the market's reacting to 320 and we confirm that there's enough viable options out there for her to purchase, then she starts to warm up to you. At the very least, you get to put your sign in the ground and get some exposure.
Exactly. And I noticed
this a big win.
I noticed this morning that she had put a heart on one of the houses. I sent her yesterday. This is apparently back on the market type deal. 179,999. So
call her, say, hey, let's go look at it.
And that's what I was getting ready to do. So
bring your mom.
Yeah, she was there before. Yeah, they're real close. So I think it's, I guess she's alone, so it gives her support to do that.
Good. Invite her mom. Let's go see that property as soon as we can. We need to convince her it's time to move forward.
Okay. That's a big help. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Ryan, was that helpful? Because we're just, I've always said a person can't make an educated decision until they're educated, right?
Yeah.
And so every time that there is like stress and nervousness or lack of clarity, bless you, the best thing to do is to go back to the data, right? If you're worried about the money, yet you can't even tell me how much money you want to spend or that you're going to have, like you're just stressing for nothing. Maybe it's a bigger stress than you think, but we got to find out. Maybe it's a smaller stress. We got to find out, right?
Right.
You know how to do a net sheet, Julian, right?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Brian, you know what that is?
Nope.
Okay, a net sheet in general is basically a calculation of once the seller sells their property, what else are they going to have to pay or contribute to so that they can pay off their mortgage and leave with cash. And then the estimate is, oh, hey, Mr. Seller, you're going to sell your home for $315,000. And when you do, everyone will get paid what they need to be paid and you'll walk away with $17,500, right? So when you present an offer to a seller, one of the first things they want to know is, well, what am I going to be left with if I sell it for this price, right?
Right.
So that's a way to do it. So you're going to pay off the mortgage, you're going to pay the closing cost if the buyer asks you for any, and you're going to pay a couple little wire fees and that kind of stuff. And you're going to pay the commissions, of course. And then once all that's done, so in Julian's example, let's say she sells it for a little over $300,000, she's going to pay about, let's just call it $18,000 in commissions, right? So now she's just roughly speaking, let's say she's down to 282.
Okay.
Right? Then she's going to do some prorations of the tax. So she's going to have to pay her half of the tax bill, although she's going to get that right back in when they pay off her, or when they release the funds for her, escrow accounts. So it's not going to be that much of a difference, right? Then she may, let's just say, pay $5,000 in closing costs. So now she's down to 280, and then she's got a mortgage of, let's say, 95. So now she's got $185,000 to go out and buy with.
Yeah.
Okay. So if she can't find anything she wants for that price, then something's got to change. Either she's got to sell it for more, which is probably not going to happen. She's got to pay less to sell it, which could mean, hey, I can't pay closing costs, or I've got to stay at this net no matter what. Or she tries to approach Julian for a discount, or she goes and, right, exactly. Or she goes and buys a different type of property. Right. And so,
or she gets a mortgage.
Or she gets a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the money is just so incredibly cheap right now. I can't imagine, like, if she were to take out a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 mortgage, she'd literally be paying like $250 for it.
Yeah. And I always, like, when I heard you mention that earlier, I just immediately thought of The Millionaire Next Door, and just reading that, that's basically what they say is, you can get money cheaper than what you can actually get in return through investments.
Yeah, well, we have a public, and Julian, you can probably agree with this, or I'm going to assume you would certainly agree with this. We have a public that's got virtually no financial wherewithal.
Yep.
Right. And when they do get curious about money, they go get advice from somebody who isn't teaching them how to get wealthy. They're teaching them how to get out of debt.
Yeah.
And debt is a very powerful thing if you're wise about it.
Yep.
Right. If I got $200,000 to spend on a house and I can borrow it for 3%, or put it in the house and basically go to be zero liquid, right? And all I got to do is have a little bit of a mortgage to make my dreams come true. It's completely asinine to bury all of your money in the mortgage.
Yeah.
Or all the money in the house with cash.
Yeah.
You agree with that, Julian?
I agree totally. That's at the banks. I've got I take an introductory rate or something when one of my banks screwed up something. I forgot what it was, but they gave me, I think, like 5%. All of a sudden I look at the statement, I'm getting all this money, and I was going, wow, this is good. And so I had money at a lot of money at Chase. So I said, look at Chase, they're paying me nothing. I had, several $100,000 at Chase that was just making pennies. So I moved it to the other one. 2 months later, the money goes back to nothing at SunTrust. So it's like that was some kind of introductory rate. So I called and she gave it to me for one more wait. But yeah, you can't get 3% on money. So if you can get a mortgage, a $50,000 mortgage at 3%, that's super.
Exactly.
Couldn't say it.
So you might want to talk to her about, like, tell me, I'm not trying to push you towards a mortgage. I just want to better understand your situation so that I can give you as many options as possible and I can help you make the most sophisticated choice. Tell me a little bit about the idea of a lack of a mortgage. Why is that so important to you? Right? And she'll say, well, I don't know. Right? And then you've got a nice little way to help her understand the situation better. Or she might say, well, my father told me never to take out another mortgage on his deathbed, and I made a commitment that I wouldn't do it. Okay, cool. Glad I asked. Right? But most of the time somebody says, well, I'm never doing that. It's because they don't have a freaking clue what they're talking about.
Right. You couldn't even rent for that, for a tiny house for $300.
Right.
Doesn't exist. So she could sell her house for whatever, and just rent. She would be paying $1,500 or something.
Right.
In the same area.
Right. So working through a net sheet, I think, with her would be really helpful. That way she sees exactly, number one, you're proving to her that you know how to do this stuff, right? Which I can't tell you how important that is. And secondly, she knows that you're being patient with her. You're taking an educational approach. And look, if she picks doing it all cash, at least you helped her understand that there was a different way.
Right.
And again, you might have to prove to her that she's not going to live in North Forsyth for 175. Right?
Exactly.
And so remember, which is more important, spending 175 and not taking on a mortgage, or living in North Forsyth? Right? If you couldn't find what you wanted in North Forsyth with the budget you have, where would the next place you'd want to move be?
Just to go on top of the lake, or past Dawson Forest up into Deliverance Country.
Well, some people think that's great. Some people
Beautiful
don't.
area.
Right? I mean, I used to say, we used to live near Chastain Park in Sandy Springs, and my wife thinks that's like on Jupiter. Like, she wants to see the skyline. Like, she doesn't want to be out there. She wouldn't dare go out there. Right? So, you just got to know who your people are. All right, cool. Thanks for bringing that up, Julian. What else?
Let's see what else. I was supposed to meet a buyer today at 11:30, and I checked the listing and it sold in January. This was a lot that I didn't think was listed. The listing expired last year in December. And so my copy was just sitting there saying December. So, and it's $100,000 overpriced. And I thought, well, I don't think it wouldn't be sold. I said, before I got meet him, I'd double check it. Well, I double check it, and to my embarrassment, it sold for $100,000 less in January. So anyway, I called him up, but I guess the good thing out of it, he wants 2 houses, same neighborhood, Sandy Springs area. I've sent him 18 this morning.
He wants to buy 2 houses?
He's a house flipper. He's the other half of the guy that's in a divorce in my neighborhood here. And her house remarkably just sold at $1,225,000, which blew me away. I couldn't do it, but he gets half that money, which is probably maybe only 50 or 100,000. But he wants somebody that he looks up to buys 2 houses in a neighborhood if possible to remodel them. He thinks it's a better deal. So he wants 2 houses there. Now, what I was going to show is this lot that used to be listed at 300 to build his permanent home. He wants a very nice home to live in. So he wants a brand new home or lot, probably a home. up to 500-600 or more maybe. And
Where
then
in Sandy Springs?
I don't know. I mean, we were looking at 317 Tall Oaks Drive, which is just off of Glen Ridge, just under the perimeter in neighborhoods. A lot of nice areas, right almost on Roswell Road, backs up to the commercial area. So that way north, that little circle there, maybe up. So anyway, that's basically where he's looking.
Yeah, like in between Glen Ridge and 285.
Right, but he's not opposed to going north and out a little bit. So he didn't want to come to Forsyth, but he's still looking in North Fulton.
Yeah, you're going to be in those mid fives if you're inside the perimeter of Sandy Springs, at least.
Right.
And if you want a dumpy teardown, you're still going to spend over $4 for it.
Right. So he's busy looking at and he claimed he bought one in Savannah for $50,000 last week. He went to Savannah for a one-day trip and bought I said, that's a long way to do remodeling. So
what do you say to that?
He says, I know, but it's such a good buy or something like that. So I don't know.
Okay, good for him.
Yeah,
so at least he has a tendency to make quick decisions, right?
He does. Plus he's warmed up like a million times. I couldn't even get this wife here was sitting on our house for a year. They bought, I guess, a foreclosure in here for $900. So they got a really good price, and they were going to make. And he put in 65 in the house, but it just wasn't up to par yet. And I think his wife got in there and finished it. And he was in charge of getting it up. So that freed up some money for them, I think. But they're in a terrible divorce, so nothing's pretty. One child.
Oh, geez.
But he's warmed up, so he's ready for a BBA. So before we go anywhere, we'll sign a BBA and try to.
Yeah, sometimes we just need to, like, the second they warm up and the second they seem like they're ready to commit, let's get the paperwork in front of them. Let's get a win. Right. And then start to do something for them right away, like show them the house that he started or whatever, or that other person. Right. Make sure they know that as soon as you get a commitment from them, you're ready to go to work.
Yeah. Speaking of warm-ups, I got another guy who's now told me that I thought he wanted me to call him in June, and I did, but then he tells me, no, I'm not going to do it till January. I'm going to sell. It's a $1.8 million house. And he said, whoever I hire, he just flat out told me initially, I want a discount. I want to sell it 1.5% or something like that. So that's the only place I would think I would discount. I told him I didn't answer the question initially, but what do you think discounting to a 1.5% commission in manor? It's in the manor.
Well, I mean, here's the thing is, if he wants you to take a discount, and you could maybe say this to him almost in jest a little bit with kind of a little laugh is, so if you want to pay me 1.5% instead of 3%, I will do that if you sell your 1.8 home for 900. Right. Right,
and then laugh. Right, I agree. I mean, he's
so
building.
if you want your partner in this process to take a half pay, then how much are you willing to sell your home under value to attract enough people so that I don't have to spend the money to bring them here?
Right. I found out the real reason. He's building a house in North Carolina in the mountains, and it's going to be ready sometime in first quarter, early second quarter of 2021. So that's why he's moved his date down. It's really, I guess his house is now started, but I think he's pretty wealthy, and he seems to be calling the shots. And I figure there'd be plenty of agents that might discount, maybe down to 1% or.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing.
$50,000 even at 1.5% for the buyers, for the seller side. So it's.
At some point, I would probably I'd want that piece of business, and truthfully, I probably would work with him a little bit on commission. Yep. But I would stand up to him a little first, and I'd say, hey, I want to be your partner, right? If you want to pay me half of what the typical rate would be, how much of a discount are you going to allow me to offer to the public on your property?
Yeah, I was going to negotiate it back up more, and then and I've already told him that I know how to price it, and he's priced wrong, and that's why his house hasn't sold. He's been with three of the two previous idiot agents that occupy the manor, like they know everything. They're willing to sit on the house for 20 days.
I mean, again, we just go back to the evidence. Hey, you've been here unsuccessful. Okay. So you're asking me to take a commission hit. Look, I would be honored to be your business partner in this, but I want to be forthright with you. If you're asking, I want to just make sure we're on the same page here. If you're asking me to take such a big commission split change or adjustment, you know, what kind of price are you going to allow me to sell this thing for? Right? Because if you want me to be overpriced and you're going to pay me less to market it, it's not a win-win. So
Right.
Show me an opportunity where it can be a win-win.
That's a really strong way to go about that, because it is a win-win that way. I get the price it'll sell at, because there's a lot of sitting inventory in the manor. It's always been hard to break in there as an agent anyway, especially that don't have the reputation.
Well, then that's possibly why this is a good move for you.
Yeah.
Right? Say, hey, if I can sell the home, if you give me a fair price and I can sell the home in 2 weeks, right? Then I'll take this.
Right.
Right. But he wouldn't have asked that question if he was thinking about you guys as a partnership. He's thinking of you as the other guy on the other side of the table that wants a fancy new car after this deal closes. So you need to reframe that completely. Hey, look, I want to be your partner. It would be a huge honor to be your partner. I would love a chance to market and sell this property for you. But I do want it to be a win-win, right? So if you're asking me to make half of what I would normally make, help me understand, like, does that mean that you're going to pay some for staging? Does that mean you're going to pay for the drone photography? Does that mean, does that mean I have a marketing budget for internet, pay-per-click and stuff that you're going to be paying? Like, walk me through that a little bit.
That's really good.
Right? Because, I mean, truthfully, if he's going to pay, a couple $1,000s for a stager, and he's going to pay, $1,000 for photography, and he's going to say, hey, you got access to these, command ads. I'll give you $1,000 a month to go drive traffic here. Say, okay, let's talk about that. I don't need 3% if you're going to pay a bunch of that stuff. Right?
Right.
But that's a roundabout way of reminding him what you do spend money on. Right? And the brokerage isn't going to take any less. And the tax man's not going to take any less. And your family shouldn't have to take any less. So where's it going to come from? It's going to come from the marketing dollars.
Right.
Right? And plus, I certainly want to be able to provide a full commission for the agent that goes out of their way to put a buyer into this deal. Right?
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Those are the big takeaways.
Got it.
All that makes sense, Brian?
Yeah, I love hearing that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you really just have to oftentimes you have to make a buyer think like a seller. And you have to make a seller think like a buyer. And sometimes when they're emotional, you have to go logical. And when they're logical, you might have to introduce some emotion into the situation just to get them to think about it slightly differently.
And it feels really good when they change to warming up to you, opening up. That's what I like about the job. Now all of a sudden you're starting to get kind of a friend or a confidant. So,
well, you just have a teammate.
Right.
Like, I'm not trying to sound rude here. I'm not really looking for many more friends, but I want a teammate. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I just want the conversations to be cordial. And if you expect me at the snap of a finger to change around my entire schedule and go wait on you hand and foot, then when I leave my family to do so, I want to feel good about it.
That's great. That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Does that bring up any additional questions for either of you?
Yeah, it looks like Brian's in California. Somebody tell me.
This is
Brian,
actually,
right.
I think it's South France. This is a picture I snapped about 12 years ago.
Excellent.
Yeah, but I think Brian's been on vacation since you started.
Yeah.
You just sent in your onboarding paperwork, and you've been in the south of France since then, huh?
Yeah, man, I'd love to.
Hey, do you think there's real estate agents that are in the south of France right now, and their teams are feeling good and feeling well paid and everyone's happy?
You betcha.
I bet you there is.
Yeah.
Nothing stopping you.
Yep.
More conversations, right?
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful. Okay, what else, guys? Anything?
Man, I should have come a little bit more prepared.
But like I said, I don't know why we got a light crowd today, but Brian, if you could just make sure your numbers are updated. Julian, I think you finished that today, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
You
cool.
said we had
Okay.
coaching calls. I thought I had one at 1 o'clock. Has that been
No, you
superseded
didn't.
because I showed up on Monday or Tuesday?
I mean, if you, I have it on the schedule. I'm ready for you.
No, I think you've answered everything I would have asked you at 1 o'clock. So that's good. Gives me a little. I want to be at that MMO.
Okay, cool.
Thing.
Cool.
And that's so powerful. I mean, when you talk this, I'll tell you one other scenario I've been working at 6 months now. This guy's got a house at $899 in a great $700,000 neighborhood. It's a brilliant move right off the start. He added it's bought it from a builder. It's a very nice house. I think he said $65,000 in upgrade. So he wants paid fully back for that. So anyway, so he's overpriced at $899. I think it may have been higher. I said, look, you can come over to my neighborhood and buy for $899. Why don't you come here? You get 13 tennis courts and lots of pools and stuff. And then, so I thought we were getting somewhere, and then they listed with somebody else, and he sat there 90 plus days, kept the price the same. And I tell him, and then so finally I broke through to him yesterday, and he was sort of warmed up, and he says, what can I sell it at? I said, well, I wouldn't even take it unless it was 800,000. I said, listen, the reason I'm calling you is the house that looks almost identical to yours just sold for $740. It took them 120 days, and they paid $10,000 closing costs. They really got $730. Now I realize your house is nicer, more options, but same size lot, same size floor plan. So 800 is my price. He says, let me think about it. So, and that's kind of edgy because he's listed. So it's an accidental phone call.
Well, you got to remember, if he inquires, then you have a little bit of leeway.
Okay.
He
did. I sent him a text the day before going, this comp just sold for this price. This is the same plan as yours. You think buyers are going to, you're going to think buyers are going to pay $160,000 more for a few of the extras? And that's why we decided to follow up.
So there's a few different comments on verbiage that you use that I want to make sure we flush out. So rather than saying, do you feel like a buyer, no buyer is going to pay it, say, if you were a buyer, would you be willing to pay this price for this property when there's evidence that somebody was willing to pay or paid this price for this property?
Much better.
Make them come up with the answer themselves. Okay. The other thing you said is, that's my price. I know you're just kind of spitballing with me now. I just want to work on some of the nuances.
I think I said it better. Maybe not as good as you just did, but I think I was more tactful anyway.
More tactful than me?
No, more tactful. Nobody's more tactful than you. More tactful than I just shared with you. So.
Well, another thing, like if you say my price, that makes it sound like I got a price and you got a price and we're not on the same side of the table. If you say it's the price, right?
The market sets the price.
Right. And this is the likely price that we are going to see when we put the home on the market together.
Right.
It's all about creating that bond. Right.
So he really warmed up.
It's not, I have a price, you have a price, they have a price. It's, here's the market price.
What's the next step now? I can only go so far with him being active, It's like he is inquiring. He is giving me a little leeway.
Okay, what's the very last reaction or interaction you had?
He said, "What would you list it as?" And I said, 800. I said, the market, your phone's going to start ringing at 800, but I'm afraid it may not. It's not going to. You've been at this for 100 days, so it's not going to ring at 899. He says, why? I said, well, your neighborhood, there's been no sales at that price, So,
So he is currently listed with another broker, though.
yeah. But
When does that expire?
It hasn't expired, but I think it's going to expire real soon. Like he's at 100 and something. He probably, given his history, this is his third listing. Given his history, he's withdrawn a couple times. So I think he's probably considering withdrawing at this point and listening to.
So I would just say to him, look, I need to be respectful and follow license law and be respectful to your current agent and the current agreement that you're in. In parentheses, that means I am trustworthy. I'm doing the right thing, right? I've already told you what I think you need to do in terms of pricing. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have about additional approach to marketing and selling this property. But I have to really be careful about how we have that conversation. Is that a conversation that you want to pursue now, or is that a conversation that you want to pursue when the listing expires? Tell me more about that.
Right. I think we're right there to define that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I'd push it. People need to be, they say we're not salespeople. I kind of think that's bullshit, to be honest. I think we are salespeople. That salespeople doesn't imply that we're doing something wrong for people, that we're looking for a win-lose. In fact, we're looking for a win-win. They came to us because they had a goal. If they are off track for their goal, oftentimes they need to be reminded that they had a goal and why it was so important to them. It's like you're their real estate coach, right? Hey, you told me you wanted to move to Seattle. You told me you needed to be there by June. It's July. What's changed? Clearly something must have changed. Well, we can't sell the home. Well, no shit. It's $8.99. It should be $7.99. I already told you that.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
exactly the situation.
Mel, what you doing in my office? I don't know why my computer in my office is on, but I see you.
I think it's a new security system.
Hey, security system.
Something's going. I got a haunting thing going on with my computer.
You do.
Hey, make yourself at home, okay?
Okay.
I knew that's why you had it open.
No, honestly, I don't know why it's open, to be perfectly honest with you. I have no idea.
You're just a bandwidth buster.
Yeah.
You must get free internet at the office or something.
Yeah, one of the many perks, right? All right, you guys, if you have any questions, if I can help you in any way, as you know, let me know. Julian, if you change your mind, you need a pop-up session this week, just give me a holler, okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good day. Okay.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Good work.
Bye.
Thanks, guys.